The observation deck of the United Earth Alliance cruiser Indomitable offered the best view of the approaching Varaxian flagship. Captain Drake Morgan stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his military posture impeccable despite the tension running through his body. The massive vessel before him gleamed like polished obsidian against the star-speckled void, its organic curves belying the deadly weapons that lay beneath its surface. 5 minutes until the delegation arrives, Captain, Lieutenant Kaya Wong announced, her usual confidence tempered by evident nervousness. Drake nodded, adjusting the formal dress uniform that felt too tight around his neck. Remember the briefing. Show respect but never submission. These Varaxians respect strength above all else. The diplomatic mission was unprecedented. Humanity had been at war with the Varaxian Empire for nearly 3 years, a conflict that began when human exploration vessels unknowingly entered what the aliens considered sacred space. The battle that followed left thousands dead on both sides and sparked a war that threatened to consume the galaxy. Now, suddenly, the Varaxians wanted to talk. The airlock doors slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing the Varaxian delegation. Drake had seen the aliens before, but only on viewscreens or through targeting systems. In person, they were even more imposing. The Varaxians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent scaled skin ranging from deep cobalt to vibrant purple. Their faces were elegantly angular, with 4 pupilless eyes that gleamed like polished gemstones. But it was the female at the front of the delegation who instantly commanded Drake's attention. Unlike her companions, who wore ceremonial armor, she was dressed in flowing garments of what looked like liquid metal. Her scales shimmered a royal violet, and a crest of crystalline growths crowned her head like a diadem. She moved with predatory grace, and when her gaze locked with Drake's, he felt a chill race down his spine. "I am Valora Thexala, heiress to the 12th house of Vorax," she announced, her voice resonating with harmonics that human vocal cords could never produce. "I speak for Emperor Zaldar." Drake bowed his head slightly. "Captain Drake Morgan of the United Earth Alliance. Welcome aboard the Indomitable." During the preliminary discussions, the tension was palpable. The Varaxian military attaché, General Kraz, spoke with barely contained hostility, but whenever Valora spoke, her words were measured, almost curious. "Your species has surprised us," she said during a particularly heated exchange. "We expected you to break after the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Instead, you adapted. Fascinating." As the initial talks concluded without concrete progress, Drake escorted the delegation back toward the airlock. Valora lingered behind her companions, then suddenly stepped closer to him. "Captain Morgan," she said, her voice lowered. "I find our formal discussions insufficient." Drake maintained his composure despite her proximity. "Diplomacy often moves slowly, Your Highness." "Indeed." Her lips curved into what might have been a smile, revealing the edges of teeth like polished opals. "Which is why I propose a more direct approach. Come to my private quarters on our vessel tomorrow. Alone." Drake's pulse quickened. That would violate at least a dozen protocols. "Yes," Valora agreed, seeming pleased by his observation. "And yet, if genuine understanding is what we seek." She left the implication hanging. As she rejoined her delegation, Drake knew he faced an impossible choice. The invitation was inappropriate, potentially dangerous, and definitely against regulations. It was also possibly the best chance for peace humanity had been offered in 3 years of bloody conflict. Drake stepped through the airlock onto the Varaxian flagship, every nerve in his body alert. He'd come alone as requested, against the explicit advice of his security chief. The alien vessel's interior was unlike anything he'd seen before, corridors that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent light, surfaces that felt almost alive to the touch. A silent Varaxian guard led him through a labyrinth of passages until they reached an ornate doorway inscribed with symbols that the translation software in Drake's earpiece couldn't decipher. "Enter, came Valoris' distinctive harmonic voice from within. The chamber beyond was vast, with a domed ceiling that displayed what appeared to be a real-time projection of the surrounding starfield. Valora stood by a curved viewport, her scaled skin catching the starlight in hypnotic patterns. "You came," she said, turning to face him. "Your superiors must not approve." "They don't know," Drake admitted. "This meeting is off the record." Valoris' lips curved. "Dangerous. I could have you killed and claim you never arrived." "You could," Drake agreed. "But you won't." She approached him with that predatory grace, circling slowly. "You're perceptive, for a human. What makes you so certain?" "Because you're curious. And because killing me would be inefficient." Valora laughed, a sound like crystal chimes. "Sit. Drink with me." The beverage she poured glowed a phosphorescent blue. Drake hesitated only briefly before taking a sip, reasoning that if she wanted him dead, there were simpler ways. "The 12th house of Vorax," Drake said, "I understand it's one of the most powerful in your empire." "And the most vulnerable," Valora replied, surprising him with her candor. "My father died under suspicious circumstances. My ascension is contested by rivals who believe a female should not lead a great house. Politics seems universal across species." "Indeed. Your career advancement after the Arcturus defense was similarly contested." Drake tensed. "You've researched me." "Thoroughly." Valora moved closer, her 4 eyes studying him with unnerving intensity. "Your tactical innovations at Arcturus saved thousands of human lives. They also cost us a significant victory." "I was doing my duty." "Your duty?" She was close enough now that Drake could feel the unusual heat radiating from her scaled body. "Or was it that you saw an opportunity where others saw only certain death?" Their conversation shifted to personal histories, Drake's childhood on the Mars colonies, Valoris' rigorous upbringing as an imperial heiress. With each exchange, the formal barriers between them seemed to thin. "Your species values individual choice," Valora observed, her fingers tracing patterns on the table between them. "Mine values bloodline and destiny. Yet here we both are, making choices that defy our respective authorities." "What choice are you making, exactly?" Drake asked, aware of the dangerous territory they were entering. Instead of answering, Valora reached out, her scaled fingertips brushing against his hand. The touch sent a strange electric sensation up his arm. "I could have you executed for such familiarity," Drake said, not withdrawing his hand. "And I could be exiled for allowing it," she countered. "Yet somehow, I find the risk appealing." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Drake recognized something unexpected. Beneath the alien features and imperial authority, there was a kindred spirit. Someone else caught between duty and desire, between the weight of responsibility and the hunger for something more. "Tomorrow," Valora said suddenly, breaking the tension. "There is a viewing chamber on the lower deck. Security is minimal. Meet me there at the human equivalent of midnight." As Drake left her quarters, he knew he was walking a dangerous line between diplomacy and something far more complicated. But the war had taken too much from both their peoples, and in Valoris' eyes, he'd glimpsed a possibility he hadn't dared hope for, not just peace, but understanding. The viewing chamber was dark save for the ethereal glow of the nebula visible through the transparent dome. Drake arrived precisely at midnight, his heart racing with a mixture of diplomatic purpose and something more personal that he wasn't ready to name. Valora emerged from the shadows, her crystalline crest dimmed to avoid detection. "You're punctual," she observed. "A trait my people respect." "Is punctuality why you invited me here?" Drake asked, moving closer. "No." Her voice dropped to a lower register. "I invited you because our formal discussions are being monitored by those who profit from this war. Here, we can speak freely." She activated a small device that emitted a soft hum. This will scramble any surveillance. We have limited time. Drake noticed she wore a less formal garment, still made of that curious liquid metal, but allowing more freedom of movement. You're taking considerable risks. As are you. Valoris' four eyes focused on him with startling intensity. My cousin Drax suspects our meetings. He commands the military faction that opposes peace. Similar factions exist among humans, Drake admitted. The arms manufacturers, the colonial expansionists, they've invested too much in this conflict to see it end. They stood side by side at the viewport, the nebula casting purple and blue light across their features. Their shoulders nearly touched, human and alien, so different yet increasingly familiar. I've brought something, Valora said, producing a data crystal. Deployment plans for our fleet in the Procyon sector. Consider it a gesture of trust. Drake stared at the crystal, understanding its significance. I have nothing equivalent to offer. You're here, she said simply. That is your offering. Their hands met as she passed him the crystal, and this time, neither pulled away. The electric sensation returned, stronger than before. Drake noticed fine tremors running through Valoris' scaled skin. Your physiology, he murmured. It responds to touch differently than ours. Yes. Her voice carried new harmonics. We are sensitive to bioelectric fields. Yours is unique. When her fingers interlaced with his, the sensation intensified. Drake felt a strange connection forming, something beyond physical touch, almost as if their nervous systems were attempting to communicate directly. This is inappropriate, he whispered, even as he stepped closer. By whose standards? Valoris' free hand rose to his face, tracing the contours with careful precision. Not mine. The kiss, when it happened, was both alien and achingly familiar. Her lips were warmer than human standard, textured differently, but the intent behind them was unmistakable. Drake felt a current pass between them, literal as well as metaphorical, Varaxian biochemistry interacting with human in ways neither fully understood. Their embrace deepened, boundaries of species and rank dissolving in the starlight. Drake felt scales against skin, the unusual heat of her body against his, two forms never meant to intertwine somehow finding harmony. A distant alarm shattered the moment. Valora pulled back, her eyes flashing with alarm. Security sweep, she hissed. You must go, now. Drake hesitated. When can I? 3 days. The Imperial reception on the neutral station. I'll ensure you receive an invitation. She pressed something small and metallic into his palm. Wear this. It will help us find private moments. They separated reluctantly, Drake slipping back toward the human section of the ship, the data crystal and token hidden securely. In his quarters later, examining the small metal object, shaped like a Varaxian rune, Drake realized he had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. What had begun as diplomatic initiative had become something far more complex and dangerous. And despite every rational argument against it, he found himself counting the hours until the Imperial reception. The Imperial reception aboard the neutral station glittered with the elite of 7 systems. Humans and Varaxians maintained a careful distance, centuries of mistrust not easily overcome by a single diplomatic summit. Drake wore his dress uniform, the small Varaxian rune Valora had given him concealed beneath his collar. The token warmed against his skin when she entered. Valora's appearance drew all eyes, her crystalline crest elaborately arranged, her scaled body adorned with ceremonial medals that caught the light. 4 Imperial guards flanked her, a reminder of her status. Their eyes met across the chamber, and Drake felt that now familiar electric connection even at a distance. He was moving toward her when a tall Varaxian male stepped deliberately into his path. Captain Morgan, the Varaxian said, voice pitched to carry. I am Drax Vexala, military commander and rightful heir to the 12th house. Valoris' cousin. The warmonger she had warned him about. "Commander," Drake acknowledged with a formal bow. "An honor." "Is it?" Drax's 4 eyes narrowed. "I wonder what other honors you've experienced recently." The gathered dignitaries fell silent, sensing confrontation. Drake maintained his composure, aware that every eye in the room was on them. "I'm afraid I don't follow." "No?" Drax removed something from his ceremonial armor, a security recording showing Drake entering the viewing chamber 3 nights prior. "Perhaps this will clarify your memory." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Drax turned, addressing the assembled elite. "The heiress of the 12th House has been conducting unauthorized meetings with a human officer," he announced. "Such behavior is not merely inappropriate, it is treasonous." Valora moved forward, her posture regal despite the accusation. "My diplomatic initiatives are not subject to your approval, cousin." "Diplomatic?" Drax laughed harshly. "Is that what you call it? Our laws are clear, intimate contact with lesser species is forbidden to imperial bloodlines." The word "intimate" sent another wave of whispers through the crowd. Drake saw human delegates exchanging shocked glances, undoubtedly calculating the diplomatic disaster unfolding. "If you question my honor," Valora said formally, "there is a traditional recourse." Drax's expression shifted to triumph. "Indeed. The challenge of blood and crest. As is my right, I name a champion." He gestured to a massive Varaxian warrior. "General Cross will represent my claim." Drake recognized the military attaché from the initial meetings, a renowned fighter responsible for some of the bloodiest campaigns against human forces. "And who will stand for you, cousin?" Drax asked mockingly. "Surely not this soft human?" Before Valora could respond, Drake stepped forward. "I will." A shocked silence fell. Kraw's mouth split in a predatory grin, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. "You accept the challenge?" Drax asked incredulously. "You understand that it is to the death?" "I understand," Drake replied, though his heart hammered in his chest. Valora moved to his side, her voice low enough that only he could hear. "This is madness. No human has ever survived combat with a Varaxian warrior." Drake met her gaze. "There's always a first time." The formal preparations began immediately. As Drake was led away to be briefed on the ritual combat, he caught a final glimpse of Valora. For the first time, he saw fear in her alien eyes, not for herself, but for him. In the preparation chamber, as attendants explained the deadly traditions of Varaxian ritual combat, Drake wondered if he had made a fatal mistake. But the alternative, leaving Valora to face the consequences of their connection alone, was unthinkable. Tomorrow, he would either die on an alien blade or change the course of 2 civilizations forever. The combat arena aboard the neutral station had been hastily converted from a cargo bay, its circular floor now covered with the red sand traditional to Varaxian duels. Spectators from both species ringed the upper levels, an uneasy silence hanging over them as Drake entered. He wore only minimal protection. Varaxian tradition allowed for armor over vital organs but left limbs exposed. General Kraz entered from the opposite side, his massive scaled form rippling with barely contained power. His 4 eyes fixed on Drake with predatory focus. "I will make this quick, human," Kraz growled as they took their positions. "Out of respect for your courage, if not your wisdom." Drake said nothing, focusing instead on the combat training he'd received during the night. Valora had sent an ancient warrior to instruct him, not enough to match Kraz's lifetime of training, but perhaps enough to survive the first exchanges. When the signal came, Kraz attacked with blinding speed. Drake narrowly avoided the first strike, feeling the blade whisper past his cheek. The crowd gasped as he executed a defensive maneuver that no human should have known, the counter of 7 moons, a Varaxian technique. Surprise flashed in Kraz's eyes, quickly replaced by fury. His next attacks came faster, more brutal. Drake felt a searing pain as the edge caught his arm, drawing first blood. "You dishonor yourself by delaying," Kraz taunted. "Die with dignity." Behind her stood Drax, already celebrating his anticipated victory. The fight continued, a deadly dance of blades. Drake was tiring, his human endurance no match for Varaxian physiology. Another strike opened his side, then another his shoulder. His vision began to blur from blood loss. Kraz moved in for the kill, blade raised high. "The 12th house will be purified today." In that moment, Drake saw his opportunity, the one weakness in Varaxian anatomy that his nighttime instructor had emphasized. With the last of his strength, he lunged forward, driving his blade not toward Kraz's torso but toward the small crystalline formation at the base of his throat. The blade struck true. Kraz froze, his four eyes widening in disbelief as his neural crest shattered. He fell to his knees, then collapsed. Silence held the arena for 3 heartbeats before chaos erupted. Varaxians were shouting in their native tongue, humans were demanding explanations, and Drax was calling for Drake's execution for dishonorable combat. Then Valoris' voice cut through the tumult, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "The challenge is complete. By our oldest laws, the victory stands." She descended to the arena floor, moving to Drake's side as he struggled to remain standing. "The human captain has proven his worth by blood," she announced. "And I claim the right of choice." Drax pushed forward. "This is abomination. No human can." "The law is clear," an elder Varaxian interrupted. "The challenge has been witnessed. The choice is the heiress's right." Valora took Drake's bloody hand in hers, addressing both species. "For 3 years, we have destroyed each other over misunderstandings and pride. Today, I choose alliance over enmity. Unity over division." Her scales shimmered as she pressed her forehead to Drake's, the Varaxian gesture of deepest intimacy. The electric connection between them intensified, visible now as faint blue light where their skin touched. "2 species," she said softly, yet her voice carried to every corner. "2 perspectives. 1 future." As Drake fought to remain conscious, he saw something unprecedented, Varaxians and humans moving closer together, the invisible barriers between them beginning to dissolve. In his final moments before medical teams rushed in, Drake realized they had accomplished the impossible. Through their unlikely bond, the first true bridge between their civilizations had been built, forged in blood, sealed in light.